Okay, misleading thumbnail is misleading. That Snapchat was from September? I'm gonna go with September. Let me close this real fast because this is not helping my lighting situation. That's not helping either. Cool. Hello. I have had a spook and need an adult. Let me pop this closed too because this is also not helping. Do you see the struggle that I have with like everything? Everything in this trailer is falling apart. Okay, so at about 9:30 this morning, there was like a car door closing. And I thought it was just like my mom or somebody like that. So I like looked out the front here, looked out this front window and seen a random like white truck just hanging out in my driveway. And I didn't know who it was. And I live in a private property campground. So anybody in or out of the campground, any kind of maintenance, anything, they have to let the owners of the campground know. And my mom works part-time for them, and so if it was some kind of maintenance or something, they would tell me. Like my mom texts me and tells me every time that she calls an ambulance for my dad or anything like that. So if somebody was gonna come onto this property, my mom would tell me. Just because, like, not to be like that person and be like, my PTSD, but for real though, like, I can't with strangers. Because it's like, what is that person's intention? Like, okay, on the internet, yeah, that's one thing because, like, it's behind a screen and so you're, like, safer. But if it's, like, a in-person interaction, it makes me so uneasy because you don't know, what is this person's intentions? Do they have some kind of weapon? Are they here to hurt me? And my door doesn't lock, so I was very, very, very much had a spook, and I didn't know what was going on. It was just some random white guy with a long beard and sunglasses walking around, and there was like footprints outside. Like there's two sets of footprints. He went all the way to the back and then all the way back to the front. And then he started walking around my trailer, and I got really, really scared. And so I was like, I texted my mom and said, who's this guy on the property? And I didn't get a response, and I called her, and I wasn't sure if she was at work or if she's driving my dad to the hospital. And I don't like to text my dad or anything because I never know, like, where's he at? Like, is he sleeping? Is he sick? Is he at the hospital? Like, I don't know. And so I texted my mom and said, I'm just going to call the police because I don't know who this is and I'm getting scared. And so I did, and that was over an hour ago. And they never showed up. So that's cool. Shout out to the cops out here for not giving a flying squirrel about my safety. It's cool. I get it, you know. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah. In other news, this is not going to help me sound less crazy. I just got back from a second inpatient stay. I had an essay on Thanksgiving, not an essay as in like a written thing that you do for school, but an S.A. I'm gonna leave it there. On Thanksgiving, and so I was put on another, out here it's called an M1 hold. Some places it's a mandatory 72-hour hold. In Florida it's called a Baker Act, where basically you're held for 72 hours for observation. Same place I went to in October, same result. Literally nothing. There was no medication adjustment. There was no meeting with a therapist, like an individual counseling session. There was literally nothing. I was sent directly from the hospital to this place. They didn't monitor me. They didn't make sure that I was okay. I really thought that they were gonna like at least make sure I was stable before I went, because I started to crash in the ambulance. I had taken too many of a thing I shouldn't have done, and I'm gonna leave it there. And I started crashing in the ambulance. halfway between my house and the hospital. And I don't fully remember everything from that ride going to, like, I really don't even remember being loaded up in the ambulance. But when I had, they started a line in my left arm, just a regular IV line. And then about halfway, I want to say it was about halfway, I kept feeling like everything was sliding to the right. And so I felt like everything was like melting kind of to the right, and it was very strange. And they had already like done a bunch of tests. They did like glucose tests and stuff like that to like make sure my sugars were okay. I'm not diabetic, but for some reason they keep testing my sugars. But I remember feeling like I was melting to the right, and the next thing I know, I could feel hands like on my face, and the paramedic that was on my left was like screaming at me, like he was like, Jessica, wake up. And then I heard, she's crashing. And then the ambulance stopped. They did my blood pressure. I felt the squeeze. I heard them say 53/32. And then they ran a second line in my right arm to, I don't think it was Narcan. I really don't think it was Narcan. But to do like a save shot to try to restabilize me to get me to the hospital. So that was how my Thanksgiving went. And then I was there. I wasn't coherent in the least. And then I was sent to inpatient, which is where I got this sweet hoodie that they had to cut the hood off of, because this is a inpatient place where you can't have hoodies. And so they had a donor sweater, and I was like really cold. And they were like, but it's a hoodie because it's got pockets. And so they had to cut the hood off of the hoodie. So if you ever see me wearing this janky sweater, just know that it's warm and I got it from a mental hospital. So that's where we're at with that. I am not having a good week. My what year is it? 2018 is ending really badly. So that's cool. I feel like I hear tires out front. But I don't. Like, I'm just like, I don't know. I feel, and I have to keep explaining this to every like new person that I interact with in the mental health scene out here. And I talked to my therapist about starting EMDR down here and told her I don't want to open up old wounds to new people, because I really hate restarting with therapists and having to explain. I know that my behavior looks and sounds completely just out of control, clinically insane. I am so aware that that is how everything looks and sounds. And I hate that there's nothing I can do really to change that, because this is how I think and this is how I feel and this is what's going on. And it's really obnoxious. And it's even worse, especially to like tell my mom, because she told me on the way home, because I was dropped off down in Alamosa and then drove back up here when I got released. She basically told me that my mental health problems are just me wanting attention. Like, they're not real. It's just me wanting attention. But I have documents back to 2009 when all this, like, when I first went into treatment. Not really when it started, because it started when I was about 11 or 12. But my documents from professional help go back to 2009, and you're telling me that it's not real. Cool. So, I basically had to tell my mom, like, I understand, like, you can't be a part of my life. It's fine. Like, you cannot be a part of my life because you're not a supportive person. You don't believe in what I'm going through. You're not trying to understand what I'm going through. And so I had to break up with my mom. So that's cool. But it's hard for me when I start therapy to keep rehashing the same things and explain to people how the PTSD affects me, how the depression affects me. And when I was in treatment this time, they gave me a flavor of bipolar to subscribe to, which is, I was diagnosed with bipolar in 2009, so this is not like new information, but I was officially given Bipolar 1, severe depressive. I was very excited. Not like, here's a birthday present and I hope you like it kind of excited, but like finally there's like an official thing for me to grasp onto, because bipolar is now on a spectrum, which is super weird to me. But it was nice to be able to like have this piece of information and just be able to run with it and be able to kind of look into it and see what that means for me personally. But it's also super stressful mixed in with the PTSD, because even like the slightest thing, like even just seeing like a big gray truck, like a big Ford dark gray truck, will set off something in my brain that makes me super, super, super like uneasy and like this weird feeling of dread. And then I get like, I don't like using the term paranoid, but it's the only word that we have that I can think of right now. But I like keep looking over my shoulder and like trying to see like, is it who I think it is? Like, are they like coming to hurt me? Like, what's going on? And like super like hyper alert and stuff. It's exhausting. Like, and then realizing that I'm like constantly looking over my shoulder, that I look crazy in public, that I feel crazy in private, makes me feel like such a failure, because I don't know what to do. Like, how do you control it? Like, I still take medication. I take the exact same stuff I was, but how do you live like your day to day and get through everything with something like PTSD constantly sitting on your shoulder, nagging at you, saying, oh, hey, that little creak you heard outside, it might be someone. Like, ugh, okay. I am having a lot of issues. And I don't want to say like I'm not okay, like I don't feel safe or anything like that, because I don't necessarily feel safe, but I also haven't felt safe in over a year. So, like, that's not helpful. Even when I've done inpatient stays, I don't feel safe there. I'm not in crisis. That's for sure. I'm not currently in crisis, but I do feel very, very, very uneasy. And especially with this random guy just showing up and like walking around my yard did not help, because I instantly was like, who is this? Why are they here? What is their intention? Are they going to break in? Like, all of these things going through my head, and I'm wondering like, am I actually safe? And like my shade was open, and so all I could do was just like lay flat on my bed, because if I'm flat on my bed, you can't see, like, this is up high enough that it's like about 5 feet in the air. But if I'm laying flat, you're like not gonna see me, just like if you're walking past the window. And then I got like super scared and laid in the floor. It was cold enough at 9:30 this morning that I could see my breath in my trailer. Okay, so laying on the floor was very, very cold. Do not recommend. And I'm just like laying there, bawling my eyes out, trying to get a hold of my mom, trying to desperately have my phone connect to 911 because I was freaking out so hard. And now it's been like an hour and a half and the cops still never showed up. So that's cool. I have very little faith in anything happening in the valley, because even going to the hospital on Thanksgiving, this guy, I seen him last time too, and he was like, oh yeah, she has a bunch of excuses for why she can't do things, and she has a bunch of excuses for why she's not okay. Just send her to treatment. And like blaming me for my problems. And after I told him like, this specific place that you're sending me to is the same place you sent me to last time, I need a trauma therapist. You acknowledged I need a trauma therapist and they don't have one. Why are you sending me there? And he was like, because it's what you need. Okay, that's what I need. Cool. So you're acknowledging that there's a specific service that I need. The place you're sending me doesn't have that, but you're going to send me there anyways. For a week. And then my social worker couldn't be bothered. Like, you're assigned a social worker and a psychiatrist and a physical doctor and whatever. I seen the social worker on the unit. And she's supposed to talk to me, and then she didn't. And I understand life happens, and if it was some kind of emergency or something, just let me know. Hey, your social worker had to go home early. All right, cool. She'll talk to you tomorrow. All right, cool. Next day came, never showed up. So I threw a big old fit and couldn't handle it because I was so mad. I was assigned a social worker who can't be bothered. Can I get a different one? What is the process to that? And it went all the way up the line to the point where they called in the manager of the social workers to be like, what the flip-flop is happening where the social workers can't show up? Because all that does is give me very little faith in what's happening. Because, like, if I can't trust you to do and take care of what you're supposed to on the inside, I'm not going to feel comfortable trusting your services for the outside. See what I'm saying? Like, you can't do your job. So I have very little faith in what you're recommending to me. So there was that. And then I was texting my therapist yesterday, letting her know what was going on, because she sent me a text and was like, hey, you missed your appointment. And I was like, yeah, my social worker is supposed to contact you. And she was like, that most definitely did not happen. And I'm like, okay, cool. Nothing that I told this lady about that I needed to get took care of, nothing got took care of. So now I'm left picking up the pieces. I missed 4 appointments while I was in treatment, none of which got rescheduled, none of which she reached out to. She said, oh, I left messages. Call them back. Oh, well, your social worker here can pull some strings and get you back in like a little bit sooner. Call them back, Susan. Get on the phone and call them and tell them, hey, she's in treatment again. See you next week. Literally nothing. I was given the least helpful human being. And the problem is that I was on the 2nd floor this time instead of starting on the 3rd floor and getting moved to the 2nd floor. So the social worker I had last time only works on the 3rd floor, but she followed me down to the 2nd floor so she could continue to handle my case. I asked for her, and they said, oh, she only works on the 3rd floor. Send me up to the 3rd floor then, because this is not working for me. Like, 3rd floor is like the ICU, like really acute psychosis type stuff, which I don't have. But I would gladly go people watch on the 3rd floor if it meant getting a social worker that was going to do her job. She was supposed to hook me up with a social worker for the outside. Didn't happen. She was supposed to reschedule my voc rehab. Didn't happen. Reschedule my doctor's appointments. Didn't happen. Reschedule my outside therapy. Didn't happen. Homegirl needs either some training or a different career path because this ain't for her. So, I rescheduled half of it so far. And now I'm just kind of hanging out. I have to go to the county tomorrow and turn in some papers. I have to go to a company in town that's going to hook me up with a phone. I have to go to, what is tomorrow? Oh, I have to go to the doctor tomorrow. Like, I have a million things I have to do and, like, no time to do it. And I still didn't even get to fill my prescriptions from last week for the medication, for some trazodone, so I could sleep. But I've been having heckin' nightmares. Like, literally the first night that I was in treatment, I was having nightmares again. And I take Prazosin, which is a heart medication that's used for PTSD nightmares. So it's supposed to help. But for whatever reason, I don't know if it was just like the environment, circumstances, whatever. For whatever reason, I had been failed real hard by this medication because I started having nightmares again. And I told them that I was having nightmares. They make you do check-in sheets in the morning and check-in sheets at night to kind of see where you're at and what your needs are. And I kept putting on there, I'm having nightmares, please help. Not a diddly was done. And even like the morning that I was discharged, I wrote, my anxiety is at a 10. My ST is at like a 9. And I'm like really, really not okay. And they still discharged me. Like, all right, super. This system in Colorado is so fractured. Honestly, it's just like, you have to be kidding me. They don't even do like full assessments. Like in Florida, it was like 237 questions. It took like 3 hours to do a full assessment. And you sat down and you had the assessment, and then they kind of went back over the next couple days and like evaluated everything, and then they gave you like your actual diagnosis. This place, you don't find out until you leave what your diagnosis is, and they didn't even put it in my folder. Like, what? And then when I went last time, they said PTSD by history. What about my anxiety? What about my bipolar issues? Like, can I speak to a manager, please? Because clearly this is not working. I'm not having a good time. Like, I'm really not. And I'm on edge. I feel shaky. My mom's at work. She has my medication. And I have not taken my Pristiq today. And I don't have access to it, because half the reason that I went in was because I had access to medications that I could not responsibly handle, and now they're all in my mom's trailer, and I don't know if my dad's awake, and there's snow on the ground, and I don't have boots. So I'm just kind of trapped in the trailer, waiting for my mom to get off work so I can take my medicine that she should have dropped off in the AM, and we're teetering on the PM. That's where we're at. That's what's happening today. So I'm gonna go. I am almost finished with more headbands. My mom found more yarn at a thrift store, and they're like super dope, kind of vintagey fall colors. I'm super into it right now. So I'm gonna finish with the skein that I'm on, add to my scrapkin. That's what this is. I'm super excited. Every time I get done with a skein and there's not enough for another headband, I'm just adding it to this. It's going to be like a big old ugly scrapkin, and I'm going to leave all the tails, these little diddly bits where I just like tied them together, I'm going to leave them all just exposed because I can. It's going to be the ugliest thing I've ever made, and I'm so excited. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to go, hopefully, what is today? Somebody remind me. Tuesday, right? I'm going to say it's Tuesday because I'm not 100% for sure. Hopefully by the weekend, I'll have at least a handful up on Instagram of the headbands and links to get them and whatnot, and go from there. It's really not like my A1 concern right now, which currently is actually hot chocolate. Second being take a nap today and not wake up screaming. I hear beeping. Like big truck beeping. Everything is making me nervous. Like, I just need to go. I will see you guys later and hopefully be in a very different frame of mind. Because clearly I'm like not totally, I'm present, but I'm not totally present. I'm gonna eat some oranges. Drink some hot chocolate. Not a good mix, but you know. And try grounding. Grounding. That was a big thing in treatment. Yoga and grounding. Breathing and yoga and grounding. So, you're supposed to feel what you feel and acknowledge it. I don't know. I didn't get a lot out of yoga. I'll be honest. I really didn't. It was a lot of touching things and deep inhaling, and it made me very uncomfortable. And I've been doing yoga since I was a kid, but doing yoga in a group is like, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. I'm uncomfortable, and I don't want to do this. Okay. I need to make a list of things to do. I'm like so scattered right now. I don't know. My brain is off center. I don't know. Anywho, okay. I'm gonna go. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys later. Okay, bye.